On today's show, a pheasant hunting adventure to a sleeper destination. South Dakota might have the reputation, but this state's hunting might surprise you.
So get to know your bird.
And later, we'll go wild in the kitchen for a lesson on cooking wild turkey in a very timely way. And our Minnesota Bound Classic this week remembers a father-son pheasant hunt in a place called Hole in the Wall.
That's not what I expected.
Those stories and more, next.
Minnesota Bound. Brought to you by Minnesota's select GMC dealers.
Hi everybody, Raven and I welcome you to the show. You know, if you're looking to head somewhere exotic to hunt pheasants, you might think of a place called Kansas. Yeah, I met my friend Scott Carlson there and we found some birds. When autumn winds race over Kansas prairies, why, it's tough to even hear. What's the plan?
We're going to go right up here on this hill, get along the edge of the weed, see what we find.
All right, sounds like a good plan. Well, we kind of know the plan. Let Raven out, load up with some ammo, and hunt Kansas ringnecks. That's what's happening here.
Rooster!
Good shot. Good shot. First Kansas rooster, huh?
Yes, sir.
The first bird came easy, but we knew that would change.
Got a point right here.
A point, but no ringneck. Running birds, nervous birds, birds flushing way, way ahead.
Rooster! Rooster!
That's what the wind does to a Kansas ringneck.
Look at that.
Look at him go. Rooster!
No matter, my hunting partners in this Kansas wind are no rookies.
Rooster!
Good shot.
That's Jeff Harper. He's been a pheasant quail guide for years at his Smoky River Rendezvous, a hunting camp in Winona, Kansas. And this fella is no stranger to bird hunting either.
And over here we've got some of our sporting clays tubes.
Scott Carlson's his name, and his fame is Carlson's choke tubes. Yep, he's the guy who started it all. Okay, what's the plan now?
Where we started there and came this way,
Yeah.
there's a whole bunch of birds went down the edge of that, set up, and we could push right to them.
Yep, keep hunting and shooting when you can and hope to get lucky.
Come here, bird. Thank you. Thank you. That bird was probably 35, 40 yards. So anyway, on we go.
And on we walk. Raven lives for this birdie stuff, and of course, so do I. Oh my, what a sweet sight. The birds in western Kansas have found a home in the state's CRP fields.
And still going.
Little Kansas charm there.
Thank you, Raven.
Good girl. Good shot, Scott.
We got pretty good pheasant hunting. I mean, we're not South Dakota, but we're not far behind. Kansas has got over 1 million acres of walk-in hunting ground that you can access with a non-resident or a resident hunting license.
Scott Carlson also understands shotgun patterns as well as anybody. That's his business, to make a shotgun shoot better.
This is Scott.
Since 1988, Carlson's choke tube business has thrived in a small Midwest community, Atwood, Kansas. Population, 1,200. Sarah Lee hangs out there too.
She loves pheasant. I mean, she is an amazing hunter. If you come to Carlson Choke Tubes, you're going to see Sarah Lee because she pretty much rules the roost here.
A tour of the plant was a lesson in choke tubes. Tubes and more tubes. What happens here?
Now this is pretty much where we do all the packaging of our product. We make here 700 different SKUs in choke tubes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. This is one of our Pheasants Forever logos that we use.
The Carlson choke tube with the Pheasants Forever logo on it means it does not miss. And Scott's newest wrinkle is a tube especially designed for Federal's new ammo, Prairie Storm.
The Prairie Storm is brand new. It's right here.
I'm anxious to see what this does. I think Sarah Lee was anxious to see the same thing. Coming up, choke tube guru Scott Carlson shows how high-tech computers make for more bird hits and fewer cripples. Right after this.
Minnesota Bound, brought to you by Minnesota's select GMC dealers. Connecticut, Rapala Ice Force, LL Bean, and by Grand Rapids Tourism.
Welcome back. Time to head back to the great state of Kansas to see what kind of bird hunting we can uncover, or in Raven's case, unflush. Oh, is that right? A ringneck goes up, a shotgun goes off, and hopefully a bird goes down. Good girl. It seems simple enough, but is it? That's a good dog. Scott Carlson knows the answer.
Well, believe it or not, I would say 80% of the shotguns you buy over the counter do not shoot point of aim. They don't care if it's a little high, they don't care if it's a little low, as long as 80% of that pattern's in there.
For Scott Carlson, the science of making choke tubes that make a difference begins here, at Carlson's testing grounds.
I'm gonna see the dot when I shoot, so we're gonna figure out where your gun shoots to.
Okay. Ready?
That's pretty good.
But looking good isn't good enough. Behind the target door is more proof. You see, there's a camera inside the door, so when it closes, it takes a digital picture, which is sent back to the computer, which shows you an accurate shot pattern. Amazing, quick, and accurate. And now it was time for me to test my shotgun pattern using Federal's Prairie Storm ammo. Let's see what we got, huh?
You put a bird in there, there's no place to put him where he's gonna slip through there, so I think for pheasant hunting or quail hunting, 40 yards, that's a pretty good pattern.
But could a Carlson choke tube improve the pattern?
Okay, Ron, now we're gonna take out your improved cylinder choke. I spin this out with our little wrench here. So now we're gonna try our new Prairie Storm. It's called an early season tube, which is very comparable to your improved cylinder, except this tube is extended and titanium coated.
All right. Oh my, look at this. Explain that to me now. It looks a lot better.
We got 81% of the pellets in a 30-inch circle at 40 yards. Okay, so that's 170 pellets. In a 15-inch circle, we got 58. A 10-inch circle, we got 29 pellets. In a 3-inch circle, we got 3.
Let's hope I can hit the target. That'd be the big thing. So did the computer agree with the pattern on paper?
Throws a pretty big pattern, but what we see is we got a lot of holes. There's a hole here, there's a hole here, there's a hole here, a lot of holes.
What do we have here then?
Well, here you got, visually, you can see you got a lot more pellets over the paper, a big improvement over a factory tube to a tube that's extended and designed to shoot that load.
Time to go real hunting.
Real hunting.
Look at that.
Coming up, how to cook wild turkey, which might be the most difficult of all wild game to prepare in a tasty way.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Starkey Hearing Technologies.
Hi, I'm Rob Jerusalem, Managing Editor of the Outdoor News Publications. There's been a lot of bear news in Minnesota this fall. For starters, Minnesota has a new state record black bear. Jason Wenberg of Stanchfield took his big bear in September 2013, but didn't get a final official score of the animal until recently. Heavier bears have been taken than his 415-pound dressed animal, but the Boone and Crockett Club and other record-keeping organizations use skull measurements to rate bears. Wenberg's Big Bruin had skull measurements that topped the previous Minnesota bear taken in 1997. As for bear hunting overall in Minnesota this fall, the state's 2014 bear kill dropped to about 1,600 animals. That's a second consecutive decline and the lowest harvest in a season since 1988. State officials estimate there are 10,000 to 15,000 bears in the state, and DNR biologists say the population is stable, but not necessarily increasing. The bear population has stood as high as 25,000 animals in the late 1990s and early 2000s, when the harvest was usually in the 3,000 to 4,000 bear range. With a decline in population, however, the DNR has responded by issuing the lowest number of available permits in 30 years. Hunting is the main driver of the state's bear population, so with a decline in permit numbers, the DNR is confident the bear population will rebound. And finally, speaking of big bears, the region has produced some real monsters this fall. An Ontario hunter shot a 760-pound specimen north of Lake Superior on September 13th, and Wisconsin's Waupaca County, in the east central portion of that state, gave up a 780-pounder in late September. For regular updates on how all 2014 hunting seasons unfold, read the print edition of Outdoor News or check us out online at outdoornews.com. I'm Rob Jerusalem.
Okay, it's time to go wild in the kitchen. Now let's see, it's November, Thanksgiving. What does that bring up? How to cook wild turkeys. Laura Shera is in the kitchen.
The holiday season is right around the corner, and many of us are cooking wild turkey because it's just that time of year. And Chef Paul is here from the Firelight Grill House and Cocktail Bar. And Chef Paul, I understand you're going to teach us the 3 B's of cooking wild turkey?
That is correct. The first thing we have to recognize is that wild turkeys are not the same as the domestic turkeys. First of all, you'll notice the breasts are much smaller than on a domestic turkey. All the fat is up around the neck, protecting it. The legs have a lot more sinew. So those 3 B's, first of all, brine, butter, and bag. Step 1 is let's brine the bird. We've taken off the feet, we've cut out the fat, and now we're going to place it in the brine. So we've made our brine. So now we're going to take our turkey and we're going to completely submerge it. Put a weight on it and leave it there for 24 hours.
But make sure it stays cool.
Make sure it stays cold. We want to pull it out probably an hour to 2 hours before cooking. And what you want to do is you want to pat it dry inside and out. So now we're ready for the second B, which is butter it. To make our herb butter, we want to start off with a ½ pound of butter. We want a ½ cup of fresh picked thyme, ½ cup of chopped parsley, and a ½ cup of sage. We'll end up with our herb butter that looks like this. And you want to work your way on top of the breast and underneath the skin. Uncover the entire breast all the way down the thighs. So now we're going to take a generous amount of butter, and what you want to do is you want to rub it all over. So get to know your bird.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to take an onion, 2 or 3 stalks of celery, nice big chunks, carrot, and then an apple. mixed together and shove it inside the cavity of that bird and fill it up.
So this is the third bee.
This is the third bee. It's these oven roasting bags. Start off by putting 2 tablespoons of flour in the bag and you shake it. What that does is it helps to prevent the bag from blowing up.
Keep all explosions to a minimum when you're cooking wild turkey.
And before we put the bird in the bag, we want to season it. One last thing, I'm going to tie it up. Start off by going up underneath around the other leg, and then I just tie the 2 together. You want to put 6 half-inch little slots. So we're going to put that bird in the oven at 350 degrees on the lower rack for 2 hours. So it's been about 2 hours. Oh, fantastic.
Look at that.
Fantastic. Go right from the top. See how nice and moist that turkey breast is.
If you want your turkey to be juicy and wildly delicious, follow the 3 B's, then you're bound to get just this.
This week, our Minnesota Bound Classic remembers a father-son pheasant hunt in a place called Hole in the Wall. That's next.
Minnesota Bound, brought to you by Radco Truck Accessories, Ellsworth Creamery, the Minnesota Horse and Hunt Club, and by Egg Star Financial Services.
Time for our Minnesota Bound Classic. We're heading to a place called a Hole in the Wall to hunt pheasants. Doesn't sound like much, but you'll be surprised. It's a long ways from Barrington, Illinois, to a hole in the wall. How far? Maybe another world.
Ooh, yeah, it's out of range. 10.
Maybe a dream world for 2 Illinois pheasant hunters, Denny Sander and his son John.
Gosh darn it. 10. They got to get closer. I can't see their faces.
But this story can be told in their faces. A chance to hunt on this Iowa farm thanks to owner Dan Wells and the conservation group Pheasants Forever.
We went to the first time National Pheasants Forever banquet up in the Twin Cities. And before the live auction, they had pick of the litter.
With their winning ticket, the Sanders chose a pheasant hunt with a television star, Raven the Black Lab.
He decided it would be nice to go Iowa pheasant hunting with you and Raven and bring me along with him and be a nice father-son thing.
I used to hunt a lot, but then they just disappeared in our area.
And so the dream began, a field of dreams.
I've never seen this many birds in my whole life. I never saw it this good, not in my lifetime.
I didn't expect to see this many birds. I mean, we came out here this morning driving down the trail, and they're just flying all across the fields. They're flying out of the trees. It was something.
Dream hunts come true for a reason, of course. In the game of pheasant hunting, the reason is habitat.
If you get a 5-way mix like we have in here, and that takes over, you can actually sterilize the field. What you need are a lot of weeds and a lot of bugs, a lot of wildflower, a lot of legume. And we go in and turn things up and turn it up so we have plenty of weeds, and we plant legume, we plant wildflowers, and we have a beekeeper out here to pollinate, so it really works well.
To paraphrase a famous Iowa movie, plant it and they will thrive. What do you think of this Iowa pheasant hunting?
Well, this is great. This is not what I expected.
An Iowa field of ringneck dreams.
I still want to see their faces.
Hole in the wall, nice place to sleep. Also, pretty good spot to hunt. Proves that when you have habitat, you have birds. Well, that about does it for us. Remember, introduce a kid to the great outdoors, taking pheasant hunting. I'm Ron Sharon, of course, always the star of the show who loves to hunt pheasants. Raven.
Transportation provided by Premier Transportation. Call 1-800-899-7433. For more information on these stories and more, catch us on the web at mnbound.com.